The various needs of thousands of children are attended to by a charity in Michigan called Variety, the children's charity. We're going to talk about that next on Due Process.
Major funding for Due Process is provided by Meade Lexus of Southfield and Meade Lexus of Lakeside, offering a large selection of new and pre-owned certified premium vehicles.
Don't just reject convention. Drown it out. Introducing the all-new 2013 Lexus LS F-Sport, an entirely new pursuit.
And by WWJ News Radio 950, keeping you up to date with the latest news, traffic, weather, sports, and business information 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Live, local, and committed to Michigan's future. News Radio 950, WWJ.
Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Henry Baskin, your host for this edition of Due Process. We're back here talking about Variety, the children's charity. Michelle, would you tell us something about yourself?
Sure. My name is Michelle Murphy, and I'm the mother to two children, Annabelle and John. Annabelle is a Variety child.
Okay. A beneficiary of Variety, right?
Yes, she is.
Dr. Dabrowski?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure.
How long have you been involved in Variety's, the aspect that you cover for Variety?
Probably about 1989.
1989. So it's been a while. Tell me, my friend, how did you get involved in Variety?
Well, I found Variety through my daughter, Annabelle. Annabelle was born missing her left forearm and hand, and as a result, we found Variety, the children's charity. They're a local children's organization stationed in Birmingham, and they serve the Metro Detroit area and children with unique and special needs. Mm-hmm. They're very unique in that they do serve a variety of children with different issues. They like to help kids, not causes,
right,
and provide a number of services.
It's a children's charity.
It is.
So they do other things aside from what Dr. Dabrowski does, right?
They do. There are several core programs there. They do everything from feeding children across Metro Detroit through the Variety Produce Rescue Mission. They're rescuing fresh vegetables and fruits from the Detroit terminal at Eastern Market, and they're distributing them all across our communities via outreach centers and shelters to make sure that kids aren't going to bed hungry, because it is a problem that we do see in our area. They have a cardiology center at Children's Hospital, and I believe that center sees about 4,000 patients each year, and they've invested $1.75 million in the equipment that helps to diagnose children with heart problems.
So this is all without cost?
All without cost. 90 cents of every dollar goes directly to the children.
It goes to the children. I mean, and if they can't afford the service, Variety pays for it,
correct,
right?
Correct.
And that's how you came to know Dr. Dabrowski.
Absolutely.
Tell me about that. When your daughter was born without her left arm, what was your first thought? I mean, what did you know where to go, what to do, how to do it?
No, it was a moment of a turning point in our lives. It was a very unexpected moment. It was simply missed on ultrasounds. So in the delivery room, we saw at that moment that she was missing her left forearm and hand. She does have a functional elbow. And in the days and weeks that followed her birth, we consulted many physicians, and everybody said the same thing, that there was simply nothing to do and that she wouldn't even miss it.
Wait, the doctors said there's nothing to do?
Correct. They said, she'll be fine, don't worry about it.
Okay, was that typical of the time, doctor?
That's even typical now.
It's typical now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how did you get to the Myo-Electric Center?
After a few months, I was determined to find something, at least a possibility. There had to be some kind of option to consider. And we started Googling, and we ran across a link to Variety, the children's charity, and the Variety Myo-Electric Center. And what I read was that they were actually outfitting infants with prosthetic hands and providing therapy services. And I just was shocked. I couldn't believe what we had found, and so I made a phone call, and within weeks we were in the Variety office and meeting with Dr. Dabrowski and on our way.
Is there a qualification for this, doctor? I mean, does there have to be some criteria before you can apply this appliance?
I mean, yes. Everything we do is on a trial basis, and then the child has to demonstrate that they utilize the prosthesis, because it's a huge cost.
Okay. Well, tell me in lay terms, if you can, how does it work? How does it function? How does your daughter function? She can move her hands.
Absolutely.
Right. So how does that work? Is it a learned behavior?
Well, what happens is, initially we fit the kids with what's called a passive prosthesis, just something that looks like a hand that has no ability to move.
Right.
And it has a certain amount of weight so that the kid gets used to what's going to come down the pike. And we usually fit that around 6 months of age, when the kid is just starting to stand.
Oh.
So, sit. And then probably anywhere from 1, but more typically around 2-ish to 3-ish, we then turn around and fit the prosthesis. And they have to have the ability to use the electrodes, so we test them as we're going through the course.
Well, where are the electrodes?
It depends on the prosthesis, but typically there's when we start off on one side, and it's called a cookie crusher, so that it essentially will close the hand and release. And then we eventually go to 2 electrodes, one for closing, one for opening.
There are electrodes that function?
Yes.
Well, how do you make them function?
It picks up the electric current in the muscle. And kids are exceptionally intuitive. It's
really
incredible to see how they do this. And you expect that they're going to take a long time to pick up. I mean, Abby was instantaneous.
Well, how old's your daughter now?
She's 6.
Okay, so from the time you started until now, obviously she's grown.
Yes.
And does that require changing the prosthesis?
And that's where a lot of the work comes in, because obviously kids are evolving and growing, etc. So what we do is we put growth liners into the prosthesis, and then we take them out and relaminate the prosthesis as the child grows. And then eventually, obviously, we have to go on with larger hands, larger sockets, better electrodes, and of course the technology changes.
Has the technology improved? I know we're getting returning vets from the landmines planted in Iraq and Afghanistan, and they're being treated at Army hospitals and fitted with prosthetic devices, I assume.
Yes.
Okay. Has the medicine changed? Has the issues that you faced early on in your career, have they changed at all? Are they easier now to function?
Well, the answer is yes and no.
Okay.
We're very fortunate in that we have the only limb bank, and I believe it's in the world. And what we do is we recycle parts. So older prosthetics, as the kids grow out of them, come back to us. And so we salvage that material, and so this way, if Abby's hand, for example, malfunctions, within 24 hours we can flip her a new hand and get the old hand back to repair.
How does your daughter take this? How does she feel about it?
She's remarkable with it. She's had it ever since she was 6 months old, so for her it's very, very normal. She wears it from morning until night. It comes off at night and it gets charged just like your cell phone would. It sits on the counter, and she wears it well and actually prefers to wear it because she is more functional with it.
Well, how functional is she? Is her left hand?
Her left hand can open and close in a pinching grasp, but she can do some pretty fine tasks. She can peel adhesive backings off of very small stickers. She opens her own Ziploc bags. She does everything two-handed. She'll hit a ball with a baseball bat and use 2 hands. I came home one day and she was hitting a ball off a tee in the backyard, and I asked my husband if he showed her how to do it with both hands, and he said no, he'd only shown her with 1, but she instinctively picked it up with 2. She's remarkably capable with it.
Is she unusual, Doctor?
Of course she's very special. And of course she's unusual.
I know that. I mean, as a patient,
yes.
I'm talking about all your other patients.
She's most certainly on the better end, but the vast majority of these kids take to the prosthesis, and that's a natural process. We want to be two-handed, and as such, you give the kid the correct tool, they'll be two-handed.
How long have you been doing this?
About 1989.
Okay, so that's a long time. And you've seen the growth in the technology and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Wasn't there a time when the prosthesis was just it didn't work at all? It was just there to make the child look cosmetically correct, right?
Yeah, we still use a passive prosthesis, like I said earlier, just to get them used to the concept of having something there, and then when they can use it, we move on.
What is your specialty called?
It's physical medicine and rehabilitation.
Okay. And did you, in medical school, go through this process?
What I did in residency.
You did?
Yes, and I was actually the co-director of the adult prosthetic program at the time at Rehab Institute of Michigan. And Larry Morawa, who was the orthopedist, who, along with Milt London, really were the visionaries for this wonderful program, brought me in.
How many programs are there like this in the state of Michigan?
0.
And across the country, really.
That's
right.
We looked everywhere, and you can't find a program that provides the oversight of a very qualified and experienced doctor and prosthetists. We have a father-son team, Carl and Joseph Brenner, who work with all of the kids, and also an occupational therapist. And you bundle that together and couple it with the charitable support of Variety, and you cannot find it elsewhere.
How does the OT work, the occupational therapist? What do they do?
They're the trainers.
They train the kids how to use?
Exactly right. Put the hand into the concept of play, and that translates to everyday function.
So where does this go on at the OT?
There's a couple of satellite locations. You can be seen in Novi or in Warren or in Clinton Township. And Annabelle's been going since she was 6 months old, and it was weekly for a few years. And then she went twice a month, and now she goes once a month. And it's always revolving around play. And she has a blast. She doesn't even think of it as therapy.
Well, how many patients do you have at one time?
It really varies. You have to look at the incidence of this limb deficiency is what we would call it. But there are only about 5 kids per state in the United States that are born with a fittable prosthesis.
Oh, really?
That's correct. We have a lot of partial deformities, but not...
Only 5 kids are, in effect, eligible medically to accept this?
That's correct.
Well, what do we do with the others?
Well, the other kids are partial fingers, partial hands, that sort of thing that don't do very well with the current technology. Having said that, both in terms of hands and fingers down the road, we're really seeing an explosion in technology, so that it'll be translated to children eventually. Is
the technology being used in the Army hospitals available to you?
For the adults, the adolescents, and older kids, the answer is yes. Okay. So really, we're not going to be able to fit a kid with the new air hands, and I'll use the movie I, Robot as an example. Will Smith had an artificial hand with individual digit movements. It's the same thing that we have right now that we're fitting with adults.
Okay, we're going to take a short break, and we'll come back. I want to talk more about Variety and how people can get involved and more of your work. Stay with us.
Legal referrals and more information on this and other related topics are available on our website at www.dueprocess.tv. There you'll find information on today's program, helpful hints to legal issues, support materials, and lawyer referrals. You can also stream previous episodes of Due Process.
So we're back on Due Process talking to our expert from Variety, and Dr. Dabrowski, our expert on prosthesis. Your practice involves is it limited to this?
Oh, no. I'm involved with a good deal of any childhood disability. Okay. So it might be muscular dystrophy, head injury, cerebral palsy, that sort of thing.
Well, why, without naming names and saying, well, some people were wrong, why would not a physician know that this kind of appliance is available and in giving a child some modicum of normalcy? I don't understand. Michelle says she's gone to doctors. They said, can't do a thing. Well, how come they don't know about that?
It's a function of education and what you get in medical school. I never saw a prosthetic arm when I was in medical school. It wasn't until I was in my subspecialty and I was exposed to other physicians who did this as part of their living, right, that this made it available.
Well, it doesn't seem logical that, I know you say that only 5 children can use this functional arm or leg or whatever you do, But what's happened here? Doesn't Medicaid, Medicare, or doesn't insurance cover this?
Well, I think a great deal of what we heard over and over again was there's nothing to do, and when the child gets older, they'll ask for something, and then you can go and seek that out. And I'm sure that does happen. However, I don't think it happens quite as often as you may think, because at that point it becomes pretty cumbersome to add additional weight, and the child's learned to compensate and adapt. And I think the reason that Annabelle has been so successful is because we really followed the advice of the program and done it very early and been very consistent. It does take a very concentrated effort on part of the whole family, and you have to have a great support system to really go and do it the right way, and not just give up, because it is a little difficult and emotional at the time.
So she does well in school?
Absolutely.
She does well socially?
Very well.
She makes friends, she has activities, she
does.
functions as a normal person.
She's a very normal, happy, well-adjusted child.
So that's great news, and that's what Variety tries to do. They call it, the people don't know exactly what this is. It's a Variety. We say, what is that? It's a Heinz 57 or whatever. But for example, recently you gave out 150 bikes to children who didn't have the ability to buy them or use them or have access to them, right?
Absolutely. They do an annual Bikes for Kids program, and every year they provide at least 150 bicycles with helmets and locks to children that may have never had a bike.
Right.
And additionally, they will even modify a select number of bicycles for kids that probably can't ride a traditional bike due to a disability. So they're enabling kids that have never been able to ride a bike to then ride one because it's been modified specifically for them.
Well, how is this all supported?
Variety attains funding through grants and fundraising and endowment. And we have some fantastic events every year that we're fortunate that so many people come out and support.
But you say grants. Where do the grants come from?
Foundations, local and statewide. Wherever you can find those dollars, they add up.
You mean corporate
Correct.
entities and people such as that? And foundations?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the doctor has done incredible work for you, but how many patients have you treated over the last couple of years?
200 maybe. Kids?
200?
Yeah, about 200 kids.
Wow. I mean, are these kids young? Are they older kids that come in after?
It's variable. It depends on what it's almost depends on the season, it seems. But we typically catch these kids very, very young now, and we can avoid, for example, giving them the hook, etc., with the Myo-Electrics. That's the beautiful part.
Yeah, that's, this is a birth issue, a birth defect,
It's congenital.
Right? But you have accidents.
Sure.
Do you treat those?
Yes, we do.
You do?
Yeah.
What is the process that you go through to do that?
For a person who is, let's say, an adolescent,
right.
What we will do is we will initially fit them with a hook mechanism.
Literally?
Literally. It's an opening, closing hook. Okay.
Right.
It's all powered from the shoulder. It gives you about a pound of pinch force per rubber band. That's the resistance mechanism that we use.
I see.
You use to get 10 pounds, you have to use 10 rubber bands. It's almost impossible to throw and open that hook. Having said that, the human hand has about 40 pounds of strength. Myo-Electric hands can give you up to 25 pounds. Yeah. So you're comparing apples to oranges with these two mechanisms. The problem with a child is with a congenital. Abby would never have accepted a hook at the age that we were able to fit her with the electronic hand.
And what was that age? 6 months?
The electronic hand she received at 17 months, and she was able to work at home.
Prior to that,
she had a passive hand which did not move, but it helped to strengthen her shoulder and allowed her to, for example, grab her bottle. At 9 months old, she was able to lift her bottle. Yes, so it was in preparation for the Myo-Electric, which I should add looks very, very real. We think of it as a state-of-the-art hand. It has a glove that looks just like our hands. It's flesh-colored and has markings on it, and so often people don't even realize when they see her.
Well, how hard was it for you to find the doctor in Variety? I mean, I don't understand it. I don't understand a lot of things, but I don't understand how people who need something specific are not given the opportunity or not the knowledge to know that Dr. Dabrowski exists. He's here.
I think it was just kind of a trifecta at the time. It's a very rare thing, and so there are people that just don't know about it. And in the past several years, I know that I've spent a lot of my time and passion raising awareness about it because we've had such a wonderful experience with it. So I hope now it is a bit easier to find.
Well, Doctor, if I were to look you up in the medical journal, where would I find you under what category?
Physical medicine.
Physical medicine. Mm-hmm. And physical medicine implies and includes all this?
Yes.
Okay, it doesn't do anything else, physical medicine?
Yeah, I mean, it has to do with all forms of rehabilitation. So any child with, it could be as simple as a tennis elbow, or it could be as complex as a person who's gone through a massive trauma and has a massive head injury.
Okay, so you're in the physical therapy end of it?
Well, I'm the physician end of it, and who's also being directive of the therapist as to what we want to do and what, et cetera.
Okay, and what hospital do you work out of?
Children's Hospital, Michigan.
Children's Hospital. So you see literally hundreds of kids in need of assistance,
Absolutely.
training. I've been to the Rehabilitation Center at Children's, not Children's, but it was at the DMC. I don't know if you use that facility or not.
Well, the Rehab Institute of Michigan?
Right.
Yeah, that's the adult side. The
okay.
adult side. We're in Children's Hospital itself, plus we have 5 other or 6 other locations for rehab for the children's system.
Have you found a more frequent occurrence of this, say, birth defect? Do we get any? We don't have reasons. We don't have any prevention. We don't have any cures. But have you found that you're busier now than you've ever been?
Well, I think most certainly the number of referrals because of Variety's outreach program is climbing. We're getting kids from out of state.
Oh, we are?
Oh, we are. From New York, Pennsylvania, California, Texas, I believe.
Well, wait a minute. You mean between the state of New York and the state of Michigan there is no facility that can take care of these kids?
If you want a standard prosthesis with just the claw,
right,
then you can get that. But we're offering something that's very distinct. Having said that, there used to be centers all over the United States.
What happened to them?
Everything has been defunded. Insurance won't pay for it.
Wait, excuse me. Insurance will not pay for it?
No.
Will Medicare?
For an adult, if you have a history of it, yes, it will. And you can get it approved, sure. But it takes a huge amount of paperwork, et cetera, to justify it.
Why wouldn't an insurance company pay for that?
It's expense. You're looking...
I know it's expensive, but heart operations are expensive too.
It's a different mentality.
Well, I mean, who do we talk to? How do we change it? How do we say you've got to make it available? If you're paying $1,000 a month for Blue Cross insurance or some kind of other private insurance, why wouldn't they consider this to be necessary?
Because they feel with adults, for example, you can be almost as functional with a hook. But you really can't.
Well, you can't. I mean, you can't do the things with only, 10 pounds of power?
Not really.
And when you say the hook, is it disguised as a hand?
No, it looks like a hook. It looks just like this.
Like that?
3 prongs, and it comes together like that.
And you try and make it look acceptable cosmetically?
You have the socket, and then you have the hook.
Okay, so Blue Cross will pay for a part of it, but not for what... I mean, I don't know if you had private pay or Blue Cross or whatever, but in the federal government will say, okay, Medicare at a certain time is appropriate?
Yeah, I mean, again, adults are a little different than kids. So for adults, there's much more access to Myos, okay?
Okay.
For with children, however, that's not the case. It's not funded. You would think it would be, but it isn't.
Well, how old does a child have to become before they can have a Myo-Electric prosthesis?
It's really variable with the insurance company. And that's the other thing. We had individuals who didn't really have Myos as part of their policy that the insurance companies have paid for partially, and then Variety makes the difference up.
Okay. So is Variety the only charity that does supply you with the funds?
This is the primo charity when it comes to this. There is no other charity.
Did you hear that? I know you're a big booster, but and you continue to boost Variety. I mean, it's like it depends on charitable dollars.
Absolutely.
It depends on grants from foundations. It depends on people giving and understanding that every dollar, with the exception of 10%, is used for the benefit of children.
That's correct.
And it's so hard because the name variety doesn't mean very much. What would you like to say in closing? Because we only have a few seconds
Well,
left.
I'd like to invite people to get involved. You know, if you're touched by the story or you just want to better your community and the children in it, we're always looking for volunteers. We're looking for sponsors. We invite corporate sponsors to get involved and perhaps underwrite a program.
Okay.
So that'd be great.
Dr. Dabrowski, thank you. It was nice meeting you. I have to commend you on what you do, how you do it. I think it's wonderful work. Do you ever leave the country and get into other areas?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You do that. You do this in other underdeveloped countries.
Well, actually, no.
Major funding for Due Process is provided by Meade Lexus of Southfield and Meade Lexus of Lakeside, offering a large selection of new and pre-owned certified premium vehicles.
Don't just reject convention. Tron it out. Introducing the all-new 2013 Lexus LS F Sport, an entirely new pursuit.
And by WWJ News Radio 950, keeping you up to date with the latest news, traffic, weather, sports, and business information 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Live, local, and committed to Michigan's future. News Radio 950, WWJ.